The Monolith. Chapter 6. Madness.
What the fuck was that? What the fuck was that?
They were in something of a guard central control space. A table, which would have once been a holographic map depicting the layout of the ship, and all the patrol routes for the guards, was now rendered a glass tabletop with odd geometrical shapes etched into it. Lockers lined the walls. Gore coated everything, although hardly any of the space was illuminated due to lack of lighting. It was as if the gore was permanently just out of eyesight, only being brought to light when a chunk of skull would fall from the ceiling, or a piece of corpse would slowly plop to the ground like sludge. How had he gotten here? The mechanic couldn't remember. It was all a crimson haze. Everything was so blurry. So bloody. He stared at what was left of his companions now. 2 security guards, 1 man dressed in casual wear, and a 14-year-old boy. The mechanic blinked. Survival was paramount. The ritual was not complete yet. There was still time. Did everyone else know that? He remembered what had happened to Myers. That couldn't happen again. The mechanic knew somewhere deep in his soul that perhaps, with the knowledge he'd been granted, he could somehow benefit humanity. His survival had to be paramount. He had to make it out alive, to warn everyone on the surface of Earth about that thing.
What the fuck was that?
Shut the fuck up, the other guard finally screamed. Just shut the fuck up. We don't fucking know, okay? The mechanic focused on them a little more. One was Goldwaith. The mechanic knew Goldwaith. Goldwaith was friendly. But the other one... The mechanic knew he was friendly too. Maybe the leader of Tango Squad. He wasn't much of a leader anymore, it seemed. Goldwaith was more or less level-headed in spite of everything. The young boy sat glumly in the corner, hugging his knees to his chest. The leader of Tango Squad slumped against the wall. We're fucked. We're fucked. We're all fucked. Holy shit. He began laughing. It's been a hell of a dream. But I'm ready to wake up now. Wake me up! Wake me up! He surged forwards and began slamming his head into the ground. Goldwaith tackled him, securing a rear naked choke. God damn it! We need each other! We can all make it out of this! The young boy looked up at the mechanic. Something horribly wrong with him. He was smiling, but not in the maniacal way the damned smile in the face of death. His grin split his head ear to ear as if he was genuinely happy. The boy licked his lips. The mechanic's lip began to quiver, his chest swelling with the unmistakable feeling of pure dread, as if it were being injected through an IV drip. Why are you smiling? The mechanic asked in a hushed whisper. Why not? He's coming. He's coming. Oh, glorious day. This is where humanity ascends. Why aren't you happy? The boy spoke, his voice somehow horribly wrong. The mechanic's ears strained trying to place it. Who is he? You think creatures like him have names? We won't ascend, screamed the mechanic now. He realized what was wrong with the boy's voice. It sounded as though it were stitched together from 1,000 different recordings of different young boys around his age. We will all become part of him. We will all die. Humanity itself, the universe, gone, gone, gone. What is ascension but the destruction of the old? Hey, who are you talking to? The civilian asked, his voice quivering. Even Tango Squad's captain had stopped his struggle, taken aback by the mechanic's outburst. The mechanic pointed. That boy! He's not a boy! He's something else! The mechanic blinked. The boy was gone. There, slumped against the wall, was what might have been a corpse at one point in time. Its head was obliterated, one eye loosely dangling from the socket, its almost toothless jaw hanging askew, blood covering its gored body. The mechanic's eyes rapidly moved across the carcass, trying to reconstruct the boy he had seen just moments earlier, but entirely unable to do so. The mechanic's hand dropped. I don't know. He sighed, helpless. The guard leader swapped a glance with Goldwaith. Hey, said the captain. We just gotta make it out of here alive. It's gonna be alright. When we get to the surface, they should know what to do. I don't know, the mechanic responded. Goldwaith took his helmet off and set it on the table. He was incredibly handsome beneath his helmet, with long and flowing strands of blonde hair tied back into a bun. Look here, he began, pressing something on the side of his helmet. A small blue holographic display illuminated the room. Goldwaith tapped on it, pulled it, and pressed various indicators as if it were a real object and not merely a trick of the light. 4 main areas became highlighted in bright red. These are the escape pods. This is our only way off this ship, unless you want to see if your oxygen tank runs out before you land headfirst onto Earth. I know this already. We all know this, the mechanic snapped, suddenly angry. You should blow my head off, Tango Squad Captain said, turning to the mechanic. You should take your gun and blow my fucking head off. He tapped his forehead. Turn the gun and shoot it right here. We're all good as dead anyhow, right? So do it. Wouldn't it be hilarious to... Shut up! The mechanic screamed. Goldwaith and the other guard, the man in the suit, and Tango leader froze, staring at him. The mechanic looked back and forth. Did you not just hear him? Hear who? The man asked. The mechanic took a deep breath, trying against everything to compose himself. He had to make it out. He had to escape. These men knew combat. They had to protect him, where his survival instinct would fail. He ground his teeth together and squeezed his eyes shut, balling his fists. He slowly unclenched them. Nothing. Just nerves. It's just nerves. It's just nerves. Tango leader seemed to slowly undo his madness, rising to his feet, wary of this new threat. The civilian pressed against the wall, as if making himself smaller and less of a threat would help. The unnamed guard raised his rifle, ready to fire. Hey, buddy, Goldwaith began. If you're not doing so hot, I'm gonna ask you turn that pistol back. I need it, the mechanic snapped. Have you not seen what's out there? That thing? What it is? What it does? I need this, and that's final. The two guards swapped glances again, then shook their heads and turned back to the map. Goldthwait tapped one particular red spot. This right here. This is the nearest pod. That's what I'm driving at. The mechanic stared, slack-jawed. That's across the fucking ship. Almost all the way in the opposite direction of where we are. Well, it's either that or cross the ballroom again, Tango leader snapped. We could go through the pipes here, Goldthwait said. But there's... Well, I don't know. I just don't like the idea of going down that far. The other location was almost in the underbelly of the ship. They stared at it, imagining the darkness of the underbelly now devoid of all lights and backup lights. Their own helmet lights would only last them so much longer. The idea wasn't appealing to them in the least. They all looked gloomily at the floor. The below decks were no comfort, but anything was better than going back into the ballroom. The ballroom was his entry portal. The ballroom was death. The ballroom was assimilation. Well, let's get a move on then, said the man with a false sense of confidence. They all turned and looked at him as if he were mentally deranged. Goldthwait looked from the mechanic to the other civilian, then back again. You're gonna need some better gear if we're gonna make it out of this. Turning, Goldthwait took out his sidearm and pressed it into a nearby wall locker. He fired, the shot briefly illuminating the horrors just beyond the beams of their flashlights. The locker came open without so much as a creak. Inside was another set of armor for the guards. Goldthwait nodded towards the mechanic and the man. Put it on. The mechanic nodded.